You are listening to 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College, and now on YouTube.com. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the only wrestling talk show here on WHPC. Welcome to Takedown Breakdown. I'm your host, Josh Silverberg. Again, not the full house tonight, but enough to get the job done, I think. I think we could be up for the three-man belts in ROH or New Japan. I'm thinking we could be up for that for the future AEW three-man tag team belts. I think this could work for sure. First, I'll start with Mr. Scott Nebbs back with us. What's going on, Scott?
Not much, guys. Happy Father's Day. I don't know if any of you guys got little rascals running around. Know any fathers? Happy Father's Day to your fathers, my father, your father. Happy Father's Day. Hope everyone's staying safe.
Awesome. Thank you. That was awesome. And no little rascals yet. Not yet, but in the near future possibly, but we'll see. And then we got Justin Carousel, and he's back from his nap. What's going on, man?
Yeah, what's happening?
Welcome back.
I apologize for that.
That
pay-per-view last week. That pay-per-view last week was really rough to get through, and it started picking up towards the end, and then they just hit me with that War Raiders Street Profits match, and that was it for me. It worked like NyQuil, and I was just out for the count.
That's okay. I'm just teasing you all here for sure. And Lyle Gillen is out this week, but he'll be back with us next week. So let's get right into it, guys. And well, we're having fun here. We're a little bit trying to make light of some stuff like that. But this is a situation that there is no funny business involved in. There is something to make light of about this. If you've lived under a rock, well, then this will be breaking news to you. If you don't live under a rock, well, then you know what's going on in the wrestling business. Pretty much all over Twitter, social media, there have been stories coming out in the hashtag Speak Out. A lot of professional wrestlers have been under fire, of course. Some we've even seen released. Some go to rehab. There have been reports that these wrestlers in the past have taken some, I don't know, what's the proper word to use? I have to be careful with this one now, how we use it.
Not you guys take treating women properly.
There you go. We'll go with the PG version.
Not being human.
Exactly. Some of them have gone the route of pretty much doing some heinous acts to other women in the wrestling business or even outside the wrestling business. And there have been some top serious big names that have come out during this report. And I just want to set a disclaimer. Justin, Sky, and I talked about it before the show. We are not going to mention anybody's names. We are not going to mention the companies that they work for during this segment. We don't feel it's right to do that. We don't think they deserve the right to be recognized at this time. But basically the reason why we are talking about this is because, again, it's the biggest topic in wrestling today right now. But again, as I said, there have been a lot of guys that have come out in these allegations, and some of them are humongous names, and some of them could deteriorate their careers and even hurt their companies to that point. That's how far this can go. So I'll start with Scott first. Because, Scott, I know you've been very vocal on Twitter and everything like that about it, too, in the last few days. Is this a black guy on the wrestling business in itself? That's question one. And then, Justin, I'll ask you after two. And two, can these wrestlers who are in these allegations, can they ever be welcomed back into the industry or even get their character flow back?
Yeah, of course this is a black guy on the business. Obviously a completely different scenario, but I definitely got some Chris Benoit vibes of what effect this could have from the public's perception of the wrestling business, as far as seeing headlines such as this in the news. And for anyone stumbling along on this that might still not have a grasp of what's going on, I'm sure everyone was aware of last year's big Me Too, #MeToo movement, with the Hollywood executives going down, which led to pretty much women all around the world feeling more comfortable sharing the story. This is akin to that, but if it was just localized, just within the wrestling world. So it's pretty damning, a lot of these allegations. You can say, obviously, that they are allegations, but they are damning, and there are a lot of them all at once. Which this started with a couple the other night. A certain independent wrestlers got called out, and the effect snowballed. And it's a good thing that all these women feel comfortable now to share their stories. It's really important. And you asked if this is a black eye on wrestling. It is, and it's also a black eye on the world and our culture, because it's, of course, not just in wrestling. There are unfortunately situations like this in all businesses and corporations around the world. And hopefully I know it will lead to positive change, because like all other movements going on across the world due to other unfortunate events in other communities of our culture, there's people are going to speak out, and that's how change has to happen.
Well, awesome answer, Scott. My other question was, do you think that these guys that have been called out, can they come back in the future?
Sorry, yeah.
No, that's okay. Can they come back to the character that they've had? I mean, like I said, and Justin, you'll answer it too after. We've heard some forget big names. We've heard ginormous names in these allegations in the wrestling business.
Well, I think the investigations need to be looked into. I think WWE, they're a worldwide publicly traded corporation. They have access to who knows, like investigators and information that we can't even think of. So I would like to think maybe since what went on with Enzo Amore a couple years ago, they even tightened their grip, because that didn't. I don't think WWE ended up looking too good at the end of that, because
he was their champion at the time too.
Yeah.
He was holding the cruiserweight title, so that's even worse.
And when that one was all said and done, it was pretty apparent that Enzo actually was on the better side of those things, be it as it may. So, I feel like they were a little more cautious, but whatever moves they made already is very damning on the people they've made those moves against, and the people that they've seemed to have backed. I think they are doing their due diligence and researching it. So time will tell. They are allegations, and we need to see and how these people react to it. If they're going to go on the defense on Twitter and put out statements and completely deny instead of maybe starting to own up and try to lead to change. So say maybe I wasn't in the best of times there. I think some people have already saying, I'm not proud of those times, and I'm owning up to it. And it depends how people will perceive that.
Justin, same questions for you. I mean, as far as this, a black eye on the business, one, and two, can these characters, Scott put it perfectly, can these characters come back? And I actually want to add a third question for Justin, too. Will WWE and certain companies, I know I didn't say we were going to name companies, but look, we all see it, WWE, AEW, New Japan, they all have a lot of these characters on their rosters that are, we say we're not going to name the companies, but everybody knows who the companies are. And can those companies, will they do the right thing by releasing these wrestlers and stuff like that? Will they do it? Do they have the gall to do this? Do they have the guts to really release them?
Well, I think without a question that it's a black eye on the wrestling community, and all these stories coming out at once is really, it's incredible to see these women speaking up, as much as it is terrible for the whole wrestling scene, because it paints it in this bad picture where it's almost embarrassing, to have all these stories come up with these people abusing their power and their position in order to get certain favors from people. And whether it be sexually related or not, it's still manipulating other people through the use of your star power. And that can never be a good thing when it comes to whatever profession you're in, is manipulating people. So I definitely think it's a bad look for wrestling right now. Hopefully these situations will either be resolved or maybe more information will be shared regarding it. Do you mind repeating the second question again?
Yeah, that's fine. My question is, do you think these characters can ever come back
Will
from a
they rebound
situation
from
like
it?
this? Yeah.
I think that each of the situations is very unique and particular, and they all have different variables in it that will affect the outcome. So all the situations are going to be different, but for those who are guilty or found to be guilty, I think it's going to take some serious rehabilitation and some serious it's going to be a loss of trust to the fans and to the promoters and to the talent that they share the locker room with if they're found guilty of these allegations. So it's going to take a lot of convincing and a lot of rehabilitation to get them back to a point where someone feels like they can trust them, someone feels like they can support them as a fan, or someone feels like they can book them on a show. And as for the promotions, I think that's also a unique situation depending on the promotion, how they're going to handle it. We know that the WWE tends to take these situations seriously. However, I could see some of the situations kind of being swept under the rug and hoping that people will forget about them as they go on. Because with so much going on in our world in 2020, you got to think that Vince McMahon might have an idea in his head where he's like, well, maybe people will just forget about it if it goes away. But at the same time, all of these situations coming out at once, especially most of them being in the British independent scene, it paints a bad picture for a lot of those wrestlers who are in NXT UK or who work over there on the British independent scene. So everything is very particular about the circumstances surrounding it. So we'll see what happens, but I agree with a lot of what Scott said, and hopefully we can get some kind of justice for the women who were affected.
I'll say my piece. I mean, you both said it as perfectly as can be, and I know I said I wasn't going to name the brands, but you know what? I think that's being too lightly because I think the brands, I think the promotions need to be need to have pressure put on them to do the right thing. And like Justin said, if we don't name the promotions, well, then that's also kind of on our part sweeping it under the rug too. We're not doing the justice then. Now we're not going to mention the names, of course, but I will say this: there is one name I will particularly mention, and he was not a part of these allegations, and that was Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne was so disgusted by everything that he's read in the last few days, and a lot of it are friends of his and everything like that. He is so disgusted by it, and you read that.
And he's a father now, so you got to think that his perspective on all of this is just so insane. I saw him post a picture with his child, and the title was "Perspective." That was the caption. So you got to think that he's got a lot going on. These are people that he shared the locker room with, people that he's wrestled for years, and to see something come up about them like that, that's got to be tough on someone who's a friend of someone like that. It's hard to support those kind of actions when it's one of your close friends, someone you've known for years, but you can't condone it.
It's true, and you look at the situations that some of these wrestlers are in. I can 100% see what Justin means when he says that they will hold these wrestlers off TV, some of them, and try to sweep it under the rug. Because they will. Some brands will do that.
I just think that it's so many situations at once that
it just keeps going. It's every day you hear something new.
Yeah, I don't even know if NXT UK is going every week. I wasn't really watching it or keeping up with it in the first place. But
they're in highlight packages, I think.
That's all they are right now, yeah.
Pandemic
and they put like hidden gems on the network. I've seen some of those matches, but
like their next big thing is NXT UK Dublin. That's their next big takeover show. But we'll see if that even happens now with the roster.
Yeah, who knows? And I think that is going to play a major factor in the fact that they're sweeping it under the rug is the fact that NXT UK isn't ongoing.
Undertaker's going down there. Sorry,
we'll get to that.
We will get that. We're going to have some positive lights on the show. We promise you. And again, you're listening to 90.3 WHBC, the voice of Nassau Community College. This is Takedown Breakdown with Scott Nebb, Justin Caracciolo. I'm Josh Silverberg. Lyle Gillen out this week. So, I mean, look, before we move on to something a little more positive, look, there's not much left for me to say because you guys, both of you basically said it. You said that I think the women we all respect that are speaking out. certain situations like Scott brought up. He brought up Enzo Amore's case. Sometimes you jump to the conclusions and everything like that, and it turned out, like you said, Scott. I think you said Enzo was on the right side of it, right? I believe you said that, but
that's what it seems.
Yeah,
it seems like they dropped all charges. The girl was,
but you know what? WWE just didn't want to deal with they just didn't want to deal with the drama and stuff like that. So they released him, and we'll see how this goes from here. I mean, like I said, there's some humongo, ginormo, catastrophic, new names that you're seeing. And there's new reports every single day that you're seeing. Every day. Even today on Father's Day, you're seeing new reports here and there. And you can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. It's all over the place.
I did avoid it.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I just saw it this morning when I woke up, and then I was with my family all day, with my dad and my brother, and with my nephew, which was phenomenal today, and seeing a positive light with that, and didn't want to see any of that stuff on Twitter or anything like that. Just not on a day like today, and but we do.
Every day I check Twitter. It's a new post at the top with the notepad where people are typing in it, and I'm just like, every time I see it, I'm just like, this is just going to keep going on. And
I know that's exactly what it is. But of course, we here at Takedown Breakdown, we of course wish we are very happy that those women have come out and have spoken they have spoken out, and we hope
that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage, and I believe Scott, Justin, I don't want to speak on your behalf, but if I'm allowed to, that I think we hope that those women get their justice. You know what I mean? We hope that those wrestlers that are accused and do get in trouble are no longer in our business, that we support. We will not cheer for those people. We will not acknowledge them ever again. And, like I said, we here at Takedown Breakdown hope for the best for those women that came out, for sure. So let's move on.
Absolutely. Let's
move on to something positive. That is the final episode of the Undertaker, The Last Ride. I know we usually do AEW and NXT now, but I think this is just bigger news that has come out.
Absolutely.
We got I would say about 11 more minutes till we go to break, so we have to extend it to the second half. Oh, no, wait, we don't even do a break anymore. What am I talking about? We don't even do a break anymore. We don't even do a break anymore. What am I talking about? Sorry about that. I'm so used to, oh my God. I did this for like a year. It's just like a break. I'm just trying to get used to the full 60 minutes now. But we heard today on the final episode, and the whole series and the whole documentary and I think I said it to you guys in the chat, as bad as WWE can be sometimes, their documentaries on the network are phenomenal.
A lot of their network content is spectacular.
Exactly.
You can't the editing is unbelievable. They
do
put a lot of effort into it.
Lyle always says it. Their production team is top notch. It is.
Absolutely.
As it should be. They're a $1 billion company, as it should be. There's no excuse not to be. But like I said, I grew up with the Monday Night War, so if you get a chance to see the Monday Night Wars documentary, episode to episode, it's phenomenal stuff. It's great stuff. Check that out. The Giants of professional wrestling, they talk about Andre the Giant, Vader, this and that, and everybody. This documentary was a special one because this was almost like it's a documentary, but it kind of felt like it was all happening live each time. You know what I mean by that? It's like it's a documentary series, but you're watching it live as it happens, And they were filming the when the series was over, they were still filming the last episode. That's the crazy thing about it. The Undertaker has come out, and if you notice, Scott and I are wearing Undertaker shirts for this episode in honor of him. A good guy in professional wrestling, that is for sure. A guy that can do no wrong in the business and everything like that. But my question to you guys is, Justin, I'll start with you first. Do you think his words in this documentary are sensitive? And by the way, I want to give a disclaimer. There is a spoiler alert if you haven't watched it yet. Okay, so if you haven't watched it yet, Scott, I had to see. You're like, how have you not watched it yet? That's what you're saying, like, how have you not?
it's just the name of the episode. It's a spoiler. It's called The Last Ride.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
it's a
Exactly.
but...
So, Justin, I'll start with you first. Do you think this is it for Taker? Is this truly it for him?
He said for the time being, so he left it very open-ended as to what he's going to do from here on out. I would still like to see him come back and maybe have one more match. I don't think it needs to be anything crazy. Seeing a Survivor Series, I think, would be his 30-year anniversary from his debut in 92. Or no, excuse me, 91. I think that's the case when he debuted for the Survivor Series team. So I'd like to see him come back. It doesn't have to be in a capacity where he is in a Survivor Series elimination match or he's in a major match. But I thought they were going in this direction before WrestleMania with Aleister Black and AJ Styles kind of going back and forth. I thought they were going in a direction where they would have Undertaker and Aleister Black against the Club.
Yeah.
And I think they could still kind of work around that. I think Aleister Black would be a great foil for The Undertaker, especially if it's going to be his last ride, as he said. So I think for the time being, he's hanging up the boots. But I would love to see him come back for the big 30-year anniversary. And The Undertaker is timeless. So I don't doubt that that Aleister Black could still get a decent match out of him. We saw the Boneyard match, even though it was unique, it was still entertaining and enjoyable. And who knows how long this limited crowd arenas are going to work, how long they're going to be doing it at the Performance Center. So maybe we might still be in that position by November, I think is when Survivor Series is. Hopefully not. But I'd like to see them do more offset shooting of matches because I enjoyed the Money in the Bank match and I enjoyed the two matches at Mania that were away from the arena. So maybe something like that with Aleister Black. They could think of something very unique. I have faith in them to think of something unique for that match. But I trust Undertaker's words that he says for the time being he doesn't plan on coming back. So we'll see what happens, but that's my theory on everything going on.
Scott, your thoughts on it? You seem to be thinking. You have that thinking look on. For those who can watch us on YouTube, he's rubbing the beard, so it looks like the thinking face.
Yeah,
like Justin has.
Well, I was already giving my thoughts on Taker, but then Justin said, "Oh, he really enjoyed the Money in the Bank match." And I'm thinking that, what do you like about that match that you didn't like about the Street Profits Viking Raider match? I actually enjoyed that one more, but maybe we can get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I can answer that with one word, and it's Asuka.
Let's table that one.
Oh, that's right. He enjoyed the women portion of it, not the men portion of it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. I mean, seeing Ray get thrown off the building is kind of funny, I guess.
But with Taker, when I woke up this morning and all the tweets going around, obviously it was hard to avoid because such a big name in the industry, his retirement pretty much being announced through the documentary that got out there, and I'm thinking, all right, yeah, how could his last match be in front of no fans, and how could it not be at like a Mania in front of fans like it's supposed to be? But then when I about an hour ago, and I sat and watched the documentary, and then I started getting really annoyed when they started going back to the original AJ promos. I'm like, man, I really wish we could have seen this match live. But then they get to the shooting of the match, and they showed a scene where Taker finds out that his brother passed away suddenly while they were in the process of going back and forth shooting that match. And then seeing the rigorous stuff he went through shooting that match, cutting his arm, shooting their own stunts, saying that it went like 5 hours till 5 a.m. He said he felt like he went through a 45-minute match, and I can understand that. I'm only 30, but I consider myself in decent shape. I do about 3-4 miles a day. But last night I played wiffle ball for like 3-4 hours, and then I'm just wiffle ball, and I'm feeling it today. Just little sudden movements you do around the field. So I can imagine a guy of his age just even doing all those stunts throughout that match. And then just seeing how proud he was of the match, and then him reflecting on it. and I even have a higher appreciation for that match now, being able to watch it back in a vacuum. There was a lot going on at that time of Mania. That was when COVID was really getting going, so it was hard to really enjoy it then. But I enjoyed it through the highlight package of that episode. And I really feel different at the end of this episode than I did throughout the day, thinking that he should have that one last match, because just watching him ride away into the sunset and hearing him really reflect on that, I think, and then seeing him with Michelle on the ranch, and then even Michelle drops that tidbit that her nephew passed away the week after that match aired. So a lot was going on with them, and the fact that Taker was really happy about the critical response that even the internet gave that match. So I think he's at peace.
It was the best match of Mania weekend.
Yeah, I think I can be at peace as an Undertaker fan, and I think a lot of other Taker fans could really be at peace with it too if this is actually the last match.
I tell you, this Undertaker was one of my favorites of all time. I mean, I grew up watching him when he was the Lord, when he was the Lord of Darkness, when he did all of that stuff and everything like that. You go way back. So the Undertaker's been my wrestling childhood. It would be his match was phenomenal, and I personally, I think he's done. But we always go back. If Vince needs me, I'm there. You know what I'm saying? If Vince needs me, I'm there. So that's, when I think of something like that, I think of, oh, okay, so WrestleMania is going to be in LA next year, So it's gonna be too hard, I think, for him to turn that down. If Vince says him, I need you for this, I think it's gonna be too challenging for him to say, okay, when and where do you need me? He won't turn Vince down. That's the thing. And Michelle McCool, his wife, mentioned that during the documentary. He will not turn Vince down. So that's why I think LA, and if it happens in Los Angeles next year, that's too big of a stage to turn down for him. 1, 2, I agree with Scott completely. Where I hear, when I see him ride off into the sunset, everything like that. I think Justin, is your thing? I think it's echoing.
Oh, am I
right?
echoing?
Yeah, I think Scott and I hear it, right? Do you hear it when we talk? I think I hear us echoing.
Yeah, I'll mute my mic. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
They got something to do with my AirPod? I don't know.
No. I think it was Justin's thing. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, it's fine. Well, Justin, don't leave.
I'm putting my AirPods in now, so I'll see if this fixes it.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I was like, what is that? I didn't know what that was.
They showed back Taker taking that vicious bump from Goldberg in Saudi, where he nearly came within 2 inches of breaking his neck, and
so that's
that really
you led me into the next point, Scott. That's the exact next point you led me into is, okay, well, if they do another Saudi match, you're telling me that Taker's going to turn down whatever millions of dollars that it's going to offer him to go there and do it? There's no way. There's no way he would turn it down. If Vince says, I need you for this, he'll do it. Now, like I said, I think the more important thing is I think Taker would rather end at WrestleMania. 100% he would rather end it there. And I just think he's done. I do think he's finished. But I think he's finished unless Vince tells him, but I really do believe him here. But I just think next year, you heard him during last year's WrestleMania when he saw it. He says, I felt like I should have been there. He was hurt watching it in the back. He was hurt watching it back there. He felt like he needed to be out there. And, I mean, you saw what he did for Vince. Vince told him, you want to go to Monday Night? We need you on Monday Night Raw. Okay, let me fly that night to Austin, get my gear, and fly back to New York, New Jersey. He did that for an 8-minute segment with Elias on Monday Night Raw. So I do believe he's finished, but again, I think LA is too big of a spot for him to turn down. And I think I'm also good, with the Saudi Arabia stuff. If they come and call him with money, will he turn it down? But I think he would want to end it at Mania. And my other question to you guys is, and Scott, I'll start with you first, and I want to hear why you think this. If he does have one more opponent, who do you think that last opponent should be, or opponents, and why? And yes, I'm putting you both on the spot. Justin, you got lucky. I didn't.
Well, I think it should be AJ. I think you really hear him speak fondly of him throughout the documentary. AJ is the type of performer, body set wise, skill set wise, that Taker's always gelled well with, and I still would love to see that match in front of a proper crowd if he was going to do one more.
Justin?
I kind of answered this in my last point. I think it should be Aleister Black if he's to come back for anything, because it would catapult him. A victory over The Undertaker in his last match would catapult him to be the star that I think he should have been ever since he came to the main roster after his NXT run. So I'd like to see that, but I'm starting to kind of turn to Scott's side and be like, I think he should hang it up. I think this is it for him.
Mine's gonna be controversial because
Don't tell me
I know
Dolph.
no, because this is a match that. Now hear me out for a second, because I know you're gonna say, why the hell would they do this? If they do it right, they do the promos right, they do the build-up right, they give them about 9 or 10 minutes out there. Boom, 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 finished. Match is over. The last match, I think at WrestleMania, you should have, and yes, I said WrestleMania, I think it should be with Sting. It's a match we have talked about for years. It's a dream. I don't care how old these guys are. This is a match that both these guys won. He's my favorite of all time, so thank you, Ty. You made me more jealous. Thank you. But I did get to meet him in person.
Sting's talked about it for a while that he really wants that match, but he didn't think coming to WWE they would use him right.
No, but
he was right. He got put in a match with Triple H.
Well, he wanted that match. He just didn't know he wanted Triple H.
He didn't know how it would go.
He just didn't know how it would go. But the thing is, and you hear me out for a second. I know they're two older guys. I know it's weird. It's interesting. You give these two guys the proper promos that you know that I think the two of them should be allowed to run their promos. I think Sting and Taker should run their promos.
They definitely have faith in them to do that.
Build it up. Let them do their entrances. Let them have an 8 or 9 minute match, and then they're done. And then it's over. The crowd will go crazy. The crowd will go wild. They'll be into it. I think it would flow very well. And I'm not being biased because Sting's my favorite of all time. I'm saying it because I think if you let those two run it themselves the way they can, and again, I think those two can put on epic performances on their promos. I mean, those two going face to face, and you let them just have 8 or 9 minutes. That's it. You're not asking for a 20-minute match.
Would be good. The promos would be great, but would you rather see it in more of a cinematic environment, similar to that Boneyard match? If
I was gonna say, I think it has to be gimmicked.
So you could certainly do that too, but the only problem is I think this is a match that's worthy of being in front of an audience, and why not do it in Los Angeles next year, where it's going to be a massive crowd. You know that because. You know how WrestleMania is, especially because it's in a huge destination spot like Los Angeles. I agree with you. I think it should be a spectacle kind of match, but I think it's a match that people would want to see in person.
I think the easy answer to that is The Fiend, to put him in a Firefly Funhouse, because people really want that match. But I similar to you, Josh, would prefer it be against Sting, because that's a match that's been anticipated for so long.
I don't care how old they are. You have to. It's been talked about for so long, which
Yeah.
As long as they're careful. I don't want either of them going in there and getting hurt halfway through the match, which is a likely possibility. So
I'm going to point right back to that Taker-Goldberg match as to why that really shouldn't happen. And Goldberg's in a lot better shape.
Sting is not Goldberg. Sting is way more careful in the ring. Goldberg's a mess. Goldberg's a mess. Goldberg you saw him in his training in WCW. He basically had no training. He did 2 moves, and that was it. He was so untrustworthy in the ring. He ended Bret Hart's career. Sting had never ended anybody's career. Sting almost got his career ended by Seth Rollins, but he never ended anybody's career.
It's not just the in-ring caliber or lack thereof of Goldberg that concerns me. It's just the age of both Sting and Taker, the fact that it's a dangerous act they're performing, even if it's just for 9 or 10 minutes. Sting's been out of the game now for about 5 years.
But he even said he has
yoga.
No, but he has even said it. He has said on podcasts, he has told them, "You give me this match, I will give you my greatest performance of my life." And I believe him when I say that because Shawn Michaels was also older too. What's the excuse with Shawn Michaels or Ric Flair? Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. Those were both older guys. You could even look, Undertaker got in the ring with Brock Lesnar. Okay? Anybody's more dangerous, it's Brock Lesnar. Goldberg is
I say Goldberg's more dangerous than Lesnar.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Scott,
Lesnar will at least protect the Undertaker.
I completely hear what Scott's saying. I do. Mm-hmm. But Sting has never hurt anybody in his career. He's never ended anybody's career. Goldberg is a dangerous in-ring competitor. He is.
I trust Sting to get on some DDP yoga, and he'll be all right. He could pull off the match after
I did mine this morning.
I just trust Sting. I just trust Sting more in general because he's more of a pro's pro, and is actually good in the ring. His match with Triple H, if not for the result, the match was a really good match. The build-up was good. It was, what did they say? It's like in the anticlimactic or whatever they say it was between the two of them.
It was just weird. Like, why is the NWO saving Sting?
No, because it was WCW. It was meant to be WCW versus WCW versus WWE, which was dumb because Vince said all along that was not what it was meant to be. And I said, I'm calling you out on that because that's a lie. Because clearly you brought DX in versus the NWO.
Clearly he just wanted
WWE you made it about
WCW again.
But I think it's a match that both guys won. And I think it's a match that both would be very hungry for. Sting is nothing like Goldberg. Goldberg's a dangerous dude in the ring. And that's not he barely could lift up Bray Wyatt in his match. Okay? He ended Bret Hart's career. He almost paralyzed Undertaker. Goldberg has had a lot of incidents. I mean, dude, come on, Scott. The guy broke his hand by trying to break open a car window. Clearly, he's not all there sometimes, Goldberg. Clearly, he's not.
Yeah, but my worry if he went into a match with Sting is Taker's been chasing that, they keep referencing in the documentary, the invisible dragon of a perfect way to go out. And how can you go out more perfectly than an edited cinematic match that they had?
I just think because it would be – no, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And if this is the way he goes out, I'm totally fine with it. I am absolutely fine with it. I'm just saying if he were to come back. I also just think he would want to go out in front of an audience. I you know what I'm saying? Like, guys have written.
Okay, so if they do have that match, who do you think takes it?
He went out in front of an audience. I was there.
No. We don't remember. We're not supposed to remember that.
Undertaker takes his last ride. I have a piece of the ring. I was there. We all left crying. It was very emotional.
No. We're not supposed to remember that, remember? That's why he came out to the Cena in Dallas. Or not Dallas, we're in New Orleans.
Then why did I spend $3,000 on this thing?
Well, that's I don't know. You asked the person who you bought it from.
Like, why am I buying this?
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with you both. I think that's the perfect way for him to go out is in this match. I just think there's going to be moments where like I said, you're in a humongous.
I think the nostalgia for that match will be tremendous, and that'll sell the match alone.
I agree.
I think they'll both be really hungry for that match, like you said, Josh. I think that will kind of influence them to take it very seriously, knowing that it's going to be both of their last matches.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're going to put everything out on the table. You know, it's going to be like, this is it for both of them.
And Sting
So
is
they're
not
gonna
a
give it all they got.
dangerous. Sting is not a dangerous worker. That's
Absolutely
the thing.
not. Yeah.
And Undertaker's not either. That's the
Yep.
You could almost. That sound crazy. If that's Taker's last match, you could almost make that the main event of WrestleMania if you wanted to, and people will go see it.
That match could be the main event.
That could easily
honestly.
be the main event. People would go. I know Scott's left, but you would go.
I hope there's more on the card. I hope there's more. I hope
me
we got
too.
more
Of course,
meat on
I hope
that
there's
bone.
more on the card. But you're telling me that if it's Sting versus Undertaker in the main event, you'd be not happy with that? For the nostalgia aspect of it, for the storyline of it, for the what? Listen, for me, man. Listen,
you asked what I wanted. I'd rather see him actually do that in-ring match with AJ. I think it'd be really great.
All right, that's fair. Listen, I would take an AJ match too, but I think he should go out with an audience. But I'm happy with he goes out this way.
Shawn Michaels is a great in-ring performer too, and that match in Saudi did not go too well.
No.
Tag match.
But the matches that Mania did.
Yeah, there's also four guys.
He was
Also
active.
Ric Flair.
Yeah.
The match with Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels was real. You could make the case. Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels at that WrestleMania could have been the main event.
Should have been. Could have
I
been.
almost think it should have. Yeah.
But you see,
I think it should have been.
But why? Because not even because of the match, but because of the nostalgia of it, the aspect of it.
Hogan Rock should have been the main event. Like, there's a lot of cases.
Was it Batista?
Yeah.
Cena? What?
No, it was Edge Undertaker.
It was Edge Undertaker.
It was. Yeah, it was. That was the main event. At 24.
In Orlando. No, Miami. No.
I had it confused with Phoenix.
There's been but see, you think the nostalgia of it, two historical figures in the business, but they're both old men. But what did they do? They laid it all out there, right? Put on a 20-minute match, and the crowd went bonkers, and the emotions went wild. Ric Flair was in his 60s.
Referring back to this Mania and being there, it's not fun leaving a long show that you were so hyped for. It's not fun leaving pretty sad on a down moment, and I'm sure that's what it was after Flair lost.
He catfished you guys. Yeah. That's what he did. He catfished you.
Yeah, so it's not – I can say comparing that to leaving the Superdome at WrestleMania 30 after Bryan won the belt, it's much more fun leaving in a jovial, happy mood.
Oh, absolutely, of course.
Like when Taker laid his gear down and we thought he was done.
I'd be so pissed at 32.
It felt like walking out of a 60,000-person funeral.
Let me ask you this then. Take me back to the second WrestleMania between Michaels and Undertaker. That main evented, okay? And Mike was retired. I know it's like walking out of a funeral and it's sad and it's depressing, but you can't sit there and tell me that match shouldn't have been the main event. Because if it wasn't, whatever match we're on after that match was screwed.
Yeah.
Go ask Chris Jericho and Triple H after Rock Hogan. It was completely, and even Jericho has said that. Jericho said it. Jericho said, I knew we were so screwed when I found out we were going on last.
They both said it, yeah. They were like, how?
They were so mad. Jericho was so mad about it.
Triple H fought against it, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I was saying, like, look at Michael's Taker. You can't, as sad as it was, that match shouldn't be the main event.
It was, yeah, no, that definitely should have been the main event. And also, compared to Taker laying his gear down and Flair's retirement, Michael seemed way more at peace when he retired and he was waving goodbye.
Oh, yeah, Michael's.
So,
did you see him in
like
Saudi Arabia? Did you see him? He looks like
that's
a bald.
Saudi money, so you think it got Michael back. If you think Taker's going to stay down.
He was bald. Triple H broke his I think Triple H broke his shoulder, collarbone or
He
something.
had that nasty bruise. He had a nasty bruise on
Kane's
his arm.
mask came off. It was just a travesty. It was such a travesty. But the people were
What a
into
train
it.
wreck.
Oh, it's horrible. All right, let's move on to the next segment. We didn't even, we have a few more minutes left. And again, you listen to 90.3 WHBC, the voice of Nassau Community College, and on YouTube.com. This is Takedown Breakdown along with Scott, Justin, and myself. Josh Lyle is out this week. We didn't even talk about AEW NXT. We didn't even get to that, and because Mr. AEW is not Scott says it all the time. How much are they paying you? No, but he's
more
fair,
than
though.
Meltzer.
Oh, forget about it. Let me
More
ask you
than-
this. I'm curious what Dave Meltzer thinks of some of these allegations, because some of these guys are his favorites. I'm curious what he thinks about that now. But anyway, let's get into AEW and NXT. Let's talk about it, because there was a lot that did happen this past week. On NXT, we get the triple threat match for the North American Championship between Keith Lee, Johnny Gargano, and Finn Balor, with the winner facing Adam Cole on, wow, what a coincidence, July 8th, the same night as Spider Fest Night 2 for AEW. So they put that together. I thought you had the tag matches this week. And then you have the cruiserweight rivalry that's going on right now in NXT. And then on AEW was interesting. You had Ricky Starks from NWA debuting.
That was cool.
And signing, which was even better. Adabon scared the bejeebers out of me for life.
Yeah.
I said that girl needs to go to sleep, because clearly she needs to have some rest, because her eyes look like a little pink, so she's got to fix that. But it was interesting because Anna Jay, they did the whole video package for her, acting like she was going to win the match, and then she loses. It looks like she's joined the Dark Order. The tag team matches were really good.
Yeah, I love the emphasis on tag team wrestling. Last Wednesday night, there was 4 tag team matches. 3 of them were for titles. It was really interesting to see.
So when you look at all that, Scott, I'll start with you first. When you talk about the shows this week, and I might have missed some information. I might have missed some stuff that I might have not said. But what show did you enjoy more this week? Was it AEW or NXT, and why?
I think for the second week in a row, I enjoyed NXT more. I think top to bottom, every match and segment has a little more meat to the bone, a little more substance, driving their storylines forward a little bit more in the right direction. AEW, maybe just the roster are limited with. It feels like they shuffle the cards each week, a new direction. Their big storyline is Bucks Revival. I'll still call them the Revival, so I'm used to FTR. It doesn't matter. Bucks FTR. It feels like for the 4 weeks now.
Don't do any cease and desist against them, okay? Don't do any C&D against them. They mentioned it on Twitter.
Butcher and Blade attack the Bucks. FTR save the Bucks. They face off. It's been 3 weeks now. They're definitely going to have that match sooner than later. But everything else.
I think it'll be later than sooner. I think it'll be at All Out.
Yeah, but then NXT, we got I like what they had from Scarlett and Killer Cross. She just came out and laid down the hourglass again, which she proceeded to break. I like where they're going with the cruiserweight champ, Phantasmo, since he took his mask off. That trio looks promising.
Justin?
About the trio, I'm really happy those guys got something to do now, Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde, because they were kind of just, floating for a while. They weren't really doing much. Now they have some sort of direction, which I think they desperately needed. I loved the Undisputed Era promo backstage, the sit-down interview with Roddy, and how he has to express his fear.
Who does Kyle O'Reilly look like now?
Oh, it was his therapist.
Who does Kyle O'Reilly look like?
I don't know.
I'm trying to think. I forget who it was. I had the name of the wrestler last week, and I lost it. But anyway, go on.
Oh, he's a wrestler that you're thinking?
Sami Zayn?
No. Yes, thank you. It was Sami Zayn. It was Sami Zayn.
Scott said that.
I thought it was. Oh, you did, Scott. I thought it. I thought it was Sami
Yeah,
Zayn at first. I thought it was Sami Zayn at
who's
first
he
too.
looking like?
Yeah, I thought it was Sami Zayn at first too, and then it turns out.
I think it's better that's Kyle O'Reilly. I think
That's
Kyle
funny.
O'Reilly is
It has
very
to be.
subtle with his comedy, but he's amazing with it. Like, he cracks me up all the time. And I think Roddy running away from the trunk was hilarious. So I really enjoyed NXT this week. Like I said, I enjoyed the
everything with
tag team
Loomis.
wrestling. Yeah,
think
Loomis is
everything with
pretty.
Loomis
Loomis
is
is great. I think he's got a future. Him, even
He was
remembering
using
him in
Impact. He was big
TNA.
in Impact. So
Yeah.
you know.
With Mr. Anderson, his feud with Mr. Anderson is what I remember from Impact. And I always thought that he had potential with that gimmick that he was given. And it's good to see him thriving now. Unfortunately, they're going in the direction of the tag titles with Velveteen Dream. That's likely going to be squashed now, or they're probably not going to go in that direction regarding the. Okay, moving on to AEW, because you said we weren't going to say anything.
Wait. We can't move away from NXT without mentioning the Breezango's entrance.
Oh my God, it's
That was my
amazing.
favorite part.
It's okay, Justin. You can mention the names of the people. It's okay. It's not that serious, honestly.
I didn't mean to do that. We were just.
I think it is.
It's okay.
We were reviewing
Go
NXT
on.
and I got involved.
Dream,
okay. Yeah,
dream
the Breezango
over.
entrance
Well,
was awesome.
dream over, guys. Dream over.
Yeah, dream's definitely over. But anyway.
Dream's over. He did the snap.
So for me, pretty much, I enjoyed NXT more for the second week in a row as well. It's a clean sweep, I think, for what enjoyed it this week. I felt
it's because Lyle's not here.
that wouldn't do anything. That would do nothing. That would do nothing. No, but
He's gonna be so mad.
He probably would say
we wouldn't have a clean sweep.
Yeah, no, definitely not. He would never admit that. It's funny because even last week when NXT was legitimately the better show, and Scott and I said that, Lyle was like, "Well, I didn't get to watch all of NXT, so." I was like, of course.
What, you skipped the commercials?
Yeah, I was like, of course you didn't watch it. But no, but it's I like NXT more. They're taking the approach now of less wrestling, also more promos, and it's
which
nice
I think benefits them.
It's nice
with
to see
the
that.
roster they have right now.
It's true. I think they. Lyle said this a few weeks ago, and Lyle made a great point. He did say it's way too much promo. It's way too much wrestling, not enough promo work. And he was right.
It's a wrestling show. You don't want wrestling?
No, I love wrestling, but I mean, I need some work into like a rivalry or something. Like call guys out.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it works with their roster right now.
They weren't doing that at all. They were not doing that. They were just like Finn Balor's going to the camera and calling somebody out. That was their promo. And I'm like, that's not a promo. That's not how you build a rivalry. You know what I mean? It's like, I am curious who wins this triple threat match.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Coming up, you know, I think it's, I don't know. I definitely don't think it's going to be Gargano. Gargano's the one guy I definitely don't think is going to win. It's either going to be Balor or Lee. That's what I think is going to end up happening. We've talked about, I think Cole has faced Balor already once.
I think he's faced all of them.
He faced all of them.
He's held the title long enough to face everyone on the roster.
Yeah, and really quick, I wanted to mention this too. If you notice too on AEW, Cody has been referencing Four Horsemen stuff. In his promo, he said, "Am I still part of the Nightmare family? I'd like to think so. Am I still in the Elite? I think so." But he would go like this, you know. He would do this. You saw Sean Spears get completely repackaged by Tully Blanchard with the glove. You saw Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard in the audience watching FTR's match, like the Brainbusters. That's what they reminisced of. If they did a Four Horsemen group with Sean Spears, FTR, and Cody, I'd be very intrigued by that. That would really –
yeah, that would be super cool.
I would be very, very interested in how that rivalry would go. You know what I mean? So – Is he commenting on the group thing?
Yeah,
I let Lyle know that Takedown Breakdown's given NXT Universal praise this week over AEW. Just letting him know what our stance is.
He's gonna have to join the call. He's not gonna let that slide.
But I do like that referencing that they're gonna possibly get those four guys together. Because here's what they remember: Cody's nickname, the American Nightmare. It's not really a face name. The heel name, because that's what his heel. That's what his heel mantra was in ROH when he joined our Ring of Honor. It was the American Nightmare. He was meant to be the polar opposite of his dad, who was the American Dream. He went the other route.
Yeah.
And, you know, FTR, look, we've heard FTR. Oh, my God, Lyle. We've heard FTR.
What is he saying?
I don't know. He's on my thing because he's mentioning in comments. But
Said one of the best AEW episodes in a while.
No. But, I mean, look, I just think NXT has been – I'm curious where they go. Really quick.
AEW surprised me. The only thing that surprised me about AEW is that they didn't set off $3,000 worth of pyrotechnics when Cody beat this rookie like they did when he beat Jungle Boy a few weeks ago.
Really quick, before we get to our
I like the open challenge so far.
It's nice. Before we get to our finishers, who do we think is going to win the triple threat match? Lee, Gargano, or Balor? I'm going Keith Lee.
I don't think it's going to be Gargano, like you said earlier. I think it's either Keith Lee or
He's
Balor.
Takes the pin. I think he's going to take the pin.
I think the best story is probably going to be with Balor. Even though they're building to Keith Lee, I think they could swerve us because Balor is the person whose record he broke. So I could see them going in that direction. And I think he didn't lose clean to Adam Cole last time. There was interference with the Undisputed Era. So I could see them running that back. And, of course, Balor needs to grab the North American title at some point. So I think that's where they're going.
Scott, do we know if they already –
Oh, sorry.
Did they already tape that triple threat? Did they already tape this triple threat, or is it going to be live?
I haven't heard they taped it yet.
I don't know.
I have not heard they taped it yet.
Not that I want to know the result or anything.
No. I haven't heard they taped it yet.
My prediction would be that Cross gets involved in that match. It becomes a four-way, and he wins.
Oh.
If they haven't taped it yet.
Well,
like they're kind of planting those seeds.
You know what makes it interesting? And Scott brings up a great point because, remember, they said July 8th is when they face Adam Cole. Okay? So Fyter Fest is when? Not this week. But night one is the next week. So why are they giving us a week in between the triple threat match and the championship and the heavyweight championship match? Why is that the case? Because I think it's a setup for the Fatal 4-Way. I like that idea. That's good.
I'm not normally
so Fyter Fest is Wednesday?
Next Wednesday. Not this coming Wednesday. Next Wednesday.
I thought it was going to be a pay-per-view event.
No, it's tonight. It's a two-nighter. Two-nighter on TNT.
Oh, cool.
July 1st and July 8th.
Wednesday, Thursday?
Wednesday and then Wednesday the
July
next week.
1st and the 8th. Okay,
yeah.
I got you.
Scott, you want to say something quick before we get to our finisher?
Yeah. I'm not usually for guys getting that hot shot, getting the championship right away, but sometimes, and I think a guy like Killer Cross's situation, I think it could be a really good move to push him right to the championship. On the contrary, I would not feel the same about Brian Cage on the other show.
Okay, that's fair enough. Fair point. Let's get to our finishers now really quick. We'll start with you first, Justin.
I don't really have a finisher this week, so I'm just going to mention what Scott just said. I think Brian Cage, character-wise, is not at a point where he should hold the title yet. I think his work with Taz is pretty interesting, but I don't think he's at that caliber yet. In-ring wise, I think he definitely deserves it, and he's a great talent, and I'm really happy to see him in AEW. But I don't see him getting the title this early on anymore, even though I did a few weeks ago, just due to how they've been presenting his character on Dynamite.
Scott.
My finisher, I'm just going to harken back to what we opened the show with. I know everyone likes getting on Twitter thinking that everyone's reading or cares about their opinion. For most people, they're wrong. No one really cares what you have to say. So it might be better just to not say anything. Whether you feel one way or the other, everyone just needs to listen. Listen to what both men and women in the business are saying on Twitter. You can reply, don't reply if you're not going to be supportive, but everyone should listen. Just listen.
Awesome.
To the stories.
Fantastic. And look,
that's a great one.
That's a great one. Both of you guys have a great one. So my thunder, Scott. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go a different route. I want to applaud New Japan on their show so far and their empty arena stuff. It's been very entertaining. It's nice to see.
Oh my God! We
it's
didn't do
refreshing.
New Japan.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
We had so much.
We'll
wait till next week. I promise.
I really enjoyed both those shows.
Oh man, we'll get to it next week. I promise,
one.
Scott. All right, guys, that's it for us this week. Lyle will be back with us next week. Waving that AEW banner, I'm sure. This is Scott Neb, Justin Caracciolo. I'm Josh Silverberg. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Take care. You're listening to 90.3 WHBC, the voice of National Community College.